et encore d'autres. Son apport aujourd'hui porte essentiellement sur une approche un peu comparative et un partage d'expériences. C'est également l'un des enjeux de la conférence qui nous réunit, de regarder au-delà du contexte immédiatement sahélien et immédiatement bassin du lac Tchad, pour voir ce qui se fait ailleurs, ce qui s'est fait ailleurs et les leçons que l'on pourrait en tirer. Dans cette perspective, Jean-Gilles se propose donc de nous partager quelques leçons apprises des politiques de stabilisation et des pratiques en la matière, issues du bassin du lac Tchad d'une part, mais également du contexte irakien. À lui.
Thank you very much, and my apologies, I'm going to have to direct myself to you in English, as my French is not nearly enough. President of the Autorité, thank you very much for the invitation, and I will try to build as much as I can on the contributions of the previous panelists. As informed, I'm here to give you in 5 minutes some of the lessons learned that UNDP has had in Iraq and in the Lake Chad Basin. And the first thing that I think is extremely important to stress is that lessons learned are not a blueprint for any other region. They can be useful, they should be contextualized. What I've tried to do is pick out these lessons from a presentation that lasts about 40 minutes that I think might be of immediate relevance for the upcoming work in the Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger region. The lessons learned for me firmly sit with one overall goal, and that is to increase the trust between authorities and the local population. Let me first outline the 3 main lessons, and then I will direct spend some time working on each of them. The first and I think most important lesson is that stabilization requires visible and fast results. And in order to have these visible and fast results, organizations that work this need to set up a different way of working to be able to deliver with speed. A second lesson is the tremendous importance of national ownership and an understanding of the local context, which is not always helping in terms of trying to do things as fast as possible. And the third is do not do stabilization unless there is a minimum level of security and a minimum level of sense of security, of safety, in the local population. So some level of security is a sine qua non. On the first one, fast delivery mechanisms. It took UNDP a little while in Iraq to understand that it really needed a complete, separate, operational setup to be able to deliver. The Iraq model dealt with the government deciding where infrastructure needed to be rebuilt so that kids could go back to school, people would have access to health facilities. In order to create that momentum and to keep the momentum, one could not wait for 6 months until the school was finally built. Construction needed to start immediately. And that was not always in line with UNDP rules and regulations. So new rules and regulations were designed in order to do that fast delivery. Here in Niger, there is an interesting phenomenon. It is largely the government that does the implementation. So we will need to see how that is going to pan out here. In terms of how to deliver these services, in Iraq, UNDP chose predominantly to work with private sector because of the speed with which they could work and because of their capacity to contract the local labor force, which had the additional effect of pumping cash into the economy and getting the economy kick-started again. In terms of the second lesson learned, the importance of national ownership and understanding local context. The understanding of the local context and speed does not always gel very well. It needs to be balanced. We cannot just go in and deliver without knowing what it is that we're getting into. National ownership helps. A lot of involvement of structures, of local governance structures are extremely important. But then again, too much and too slow does not deliver what stabilization requires. So it needs a weighing of the tremendous need to understand what is happening locally with the equally important need to deliver as fast as possible. Either way, there should be a very clear understanding of all the partners involved as to how it's going to be organized, so that not continuously new negotiations are required. There should be a very clear delivery model that is nationally owned, should be defined. For UNDP, it meant, for example, to very much minimize branding, which required donors who provided the money to be in agreement with that. I remember that the Deputy Special Representative in Iraq actually tore a banner down where there was this big UNDP logo and really insisted, as Clemens was stressing himself, that it should be really the government that is showing to the people that it's willing to deliver services and that it's willing to reconstruct productive and social infrastructure. On the third and the last lesson learned, a strong focus on security and a sense of safety. I will repeat what Clemens said because it is in Nigeria, in Chad, in Cameroon, but also in Iraq, it has proven absolutely essential that there needs to be a very close coordination with security forces. Not only should one abstain from engaging in stabilization facilities when security is absent, when there is a relative degree of security, there should be a close coordination and a sort of implicit contract that that security is going to be maintained. And this can only happen by the national security forces and therefore requires a great deal of consistent coordination, which goes beyond the humanitarian civ-military coordination, civilian military coordination. It goes beyond that. It's truly coordinating and making sure that areas where work is taking place is not only in terms of access, but that the security is guaranteed in the long term. With this security established, an important next step is to try to work and establish or re-establish the formal and informal justice mechanisms. As I said, it was 5 minutes, 3 lessons. There's many more lessons, but let me stop here. Thank you very much.
Beaucoup plus grand que moi. Thank you. Effectivement, les 3 leçons soulevées, je pense,